Hello and welcome back to the Voxel Tales Tech Puppet Project, the VTTPP. It's part 3 and I've just spent the last 3 weeks working on getting Tech's mouth mechanism designed and built. So, I honestly didn't think that it would take as long to design the mouth as it did to design the eyes. And honestly, it probably wouldn't have done were it not for something very important that I'd overlooked. I hadn't actually modelled the inside of his mouth. Well, not entirely anyway. The model I've been working off of did have an inside of the mouth and teeth, but they weren't connected in any way, and I hadn't made a tongue at all. And the more I looked at it and tried to make it work, the more I hated it. So I started again, remodelled all the teeth based off of an actual wolf's teeth, added gums and a tongue, and most importantly, connected it all together into something Prusa Slicer was happy to cut up. Then I had to figure out the pivot point of the jaw and how to make it interact with the rest of the head. Because obviously, unlike a real creature, we're not dealing with something with skin that stretches around the face. We're dealing with PLA plastic that definitely does not stretch, and unlike when he was a model for animating, I can't just move some vertices around to make it look right when the mouth is open. Instead, this meant having an opening for the jaw to rotate into as it opens, and while it doesn't actually look bad as is, I have an idea of how to hide it when I add fur down the line. Anyway, once that was all figured out, I spent far too long staring at the model trying to visualise a mechanism to open and close the jaw. And when that got me absolutely nowhere, I decided to just print out the muzzle so I could hold it in my hands and have a better idea of what I was working with. The print time estimate for the main portion of the snout was just over 2 days. And as much as I love my Ender 3 Neo, I don't trust it to manage printing for 2 days straight and not screw up somewhere along the line. So I cut the pieces in half and printed them separately, which was mostly successful. I say mostly because the filament I was using, although graded for temperatures between 110 and 120 degrees, refused to flow at any temperature less than 118 degrees. And over the course of the print, I assume having the temperatures set at the higher end is what caused some warping of the pieces. Annoyingly, anything hotter than 118 degrees would cause the filament to clog the nozzle. So I had to leave a fan blowing on the printer to try and keep the temperatures in this sort of Goldilocks zone. Anyway, as you can see, after a lot of filing and sanding, I managed to get the two sides to marry up. There are still some wavy gaps, and the left side printed weirdly here, so there's a chunk missing, but I'm not too worried about it because it's all going to be covered up eventually anyway. But now I could get my hands on and in the model, I was able to figure out where best to position some springs to close the jaw again once it's opened, which I've accomplished with some bits of Meccano because I really didn't want to waste filament reprinting it all. And because I could now see where my hand would go, I could work out how to run a cable system from the lower jaw to a control point for my thumb to go into, which eventually led me to designing and printing this plate to mount beneath the existing eye plate, as well as a single guide piece I needed to attach to the roof of his mouth. Once it was all printed, running a cord around the guide structure was actually pretty straightforward, and as you can see here, he can open and close his jaw. As always, there's still a few issues here and there that I'll need to fix, not least of which is the weight distribution, but I'm pretty sure I'll be able to figure them out as I go along. The next step is going to be getting the rest of the head printed and assembled, which hopefully won't take as long as the eyes and mouth did. For now though, thank you very much for watching if you're still here, subscribe and like if you haven't already, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye guys.